Okay, lovely. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me for another special health focus Tai Chi and Qigong class. And as always, just as I start recording, the light levels change, so I'll just pop on an extra bit of illumination and we get started. Lovely, folks. So we're continuing on with our Chan Se Gong Chen style silk reeling. Beautiful for general well-being, for a feeling of flow and relaxation. I would also point out that doing silk reeling is very useful for integration of your practice. So what I mean is it helps all your aspects, both of your Tai Chi practice and your health, to find a kind of rhythm and work together. So it has a kind of stabilizing effect on our well-being. That's the feeling I get when I do my practice. Did we salute? Not sure if we did. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so let's open our stance and we'll begin with a little bit of our warm-up. If you remember, this is this kind of plank, short plank. So from the base of your body to the top of the head, we keep structured but not stiff. And then as the hips roll into the four corners, we have this lovely little wobble. So forwards and back, left and right. I always think of a seesaw with this one, but a seesaw that has a sort of left and right swivel to it. And don't forget to breathe. Now, if you struggle with this one, don't worry, so did I. Hopefully I've got it now. I feel I have. But for decades, I was watching the Grandmaster and my teacher and my classmates, and everyone seemed to have their own subtle version of it. And actually trying to follow a Grandmaster is like trying to catch smoke. It's so difficult because their movements are so smooth. They're like greased lightning, you know, you just can't see what they're doing. And I know that sounds bizarre, but literally I would watch in fascination. Let's change direction, please. Even as the Grandmaster would do silk reeling, I could see that there was some kind of twisting, writhing going on underneath the surface, but on the outside everything seemed so perfectly calm. And I think that's a really good way of describing Tai Chi, actually. It is an internal art. I'm sure you've heard of that expression, that Tai Chi is an internal or a soft martial art. And over the years, many people have asked, what on earth does that mean? They can't kind of get, what's an internal martial art? Are you fighting battles on the inside? You could say that, yes, in a way, you are. But really what it's talking about is that though we are moving our body visibly on the outside, the movement is generated by an intent from the inside. And everything comes back to this point in the center of your belly. This is where it originates. So actually with this exercise that we're doing, there is physical movement of the dantian. The center of your belly is rolling into the four corners a little bit. It's just guiding mostly, but it is moving. But once we get started into our silk reeling, actually it's more of a pivot point than actually any discernible movement in itself. So this is actually really nice to start with this one because you're moving the dantian. Good, let's move on to movement 2. And I'm chatting away. Maybe I should be silent and let you connect. But when you revise this video, turn the sound off and just do the movements with me, please, so that you can really connect to what you're doing. So little reminder, what we're doing now is the four corners again. You're still rolling the dantian, or feeding the dantian, I should say, into the four corners. But notice the body remains upright. So the first exercise we did was the vertical spiral, where the whole body did this beautiful swirling ripple. This one is the horizontal spiral, where we are just, it's like wiping a counter with our center, and the rest of the body just moves with. Feel the movement, and remember, less is more. It's a subtle movement. Unlike, I keep thinking of belly dancing where they distend the hips as they go around. That's not what we're doing. We're staying quite small. It's internal. The movement is within the confines of your body rather than blowing your structure out of alignment. Very good. So let's change direction. So the movements that we make in Tai Chi, as I say, are subtle. They're internal, but they do influence and move the body on the outside, which is why I was mesmerized and confused by watching the Grand Master, because I could see his energy writhing, spiraling, but his physicality wasn't. It was moving, but very subtly. So that is the power of Tai Chi. We create power by creating a vortex of energy. And how do we do that? We move in circles, we move in spirals. We never move in straight lines in Tai Chi. And I know if you do Tai Chi, you'll think, yes, we do. We walk forwards, we walk backwards, that's in a straight line. Ah, but do we? Our feet go in semicircles. They don't go straight. There's always some aspect of a spiral created because that's stronger. Just like fibers of a rope, if you just have the fibers without being twisted and pulled, they'll have some strength and then they break. But if you twist the same fibers into a rope and pull, they will be able to take much more weight and stay strong for a lot longer. And yet they're the same fibers. So it's not what you've got, but what you do with it. So spiraling creates strength. Good. So let's come back into the center. Now we're going to send a little spiral down through the leg. You can see my fancy pants. Maybe they show a little bit of that movement. So I'm creating a spiral. Now, again, we want to think of it starting from center and spiraling down the leg. Though I have a standing practice teacher, and he thinks of the spiral starting from the supporting leg. Not that you're moving, but you're thinking of the spiral coming up the leg through the center and down the moving leg. That's interesting. You can play with it. Change direction, please. He's a very advanced practitioner, but he's not a master. So we all get these kind of insights, and they can be very viable. I like my standing practice teacher a lot, and I respect what he says, so I can share that with you, I think, quite confidently. But it's not coming from the Grand Master, it's a student in experimentation. So you're allowed to experiment, you're allowed to feel what works and feel what makes it feel stronger and what makes it feel weaker. And go with the stronger. And let's change direction. Literally, it can make a difference. The way you think about something can make the difference between feeling brittle and unsafe and feeling strong and in control. Shaking out. The exact same move. So an awful lot goes on trust. Trust your teacher. If you don't trust your teacher, change your teacher. Don't keep going along with what they say, because you know you have to trust, but also trust yourself, trust your instincts, and see what emerges as you do the practice. You may well get insight and go, do you know what, if I do this, it feels really good, Forwards and back, please. Then what I would suggest, play with it and then return to your teacher that you trust and talk about it. And often what you'll find is they go, ah, yes, you've experienced that, that's good. and you can talk about it. Occasionally they might go, no, I don't think you're on the path there. I think you've gone off sideways a bit. And that's fine as well. So it's a continuous conversation. You can decide, do you listen to your teacher? And if they have good experience, if they have good teachers themselves in general, they're probably right. Change, please. But it is your journey. Teachers just put you on the path and try to guide you to your best direct course towards improvement. Breathe. Good. There is a diagram that Grandmaster Chen put in one of his books. Is it called the 5 circles of Tai Chi, I think it's called? Or is it the 5 levels of Tai Chi? I'll check with that and put a wee link if I can find it for you. But the diagram is very simple. Basically, it's a yin-yang, which is described as the Tai Chi picture. So it describes perfect Tai Chi. While I'm talking, please can you soften your knees, sit your belly down, sit your bottom down, sorry, and do a little soft and gentle turn. Okay, so the yin-yang depicts Tai Chi in its perfection. So it's considered a perfect art. Literally, Tai Chi translates as supreme ultimate. So it is the sort of standard that we are aiming for in utter perfection. And then the diagram shows the course of a student's learning if they apply themselves over time. And basically what it looks like is a triangle with a line up through the center. So a little bit like the Deathly Hallows, you've got the yin-yang at the top, and then you've got this triangle coming down from the yin-yang and a line down the center. And then you'll see that there is a kind of wandering zigzag swirl up towards the yin-yang. And that wandering zigzag is the depiction of a student's journey. If they have, every opportunity, if they have good tuition, if they practice. So basically the center line, going straight to the yin-yang, is what we're aiming for. That is absolute lack of deviation that takes you all the way to perfection. Yeah, but that doesn't happen, does it? There's no such thing as a student who comes in straight off the bat and has no deviation and just goes straight to perfection. It just doesn't happen. So what we tend to have is deviation. So, for example, in standing practice, it's a good one to start with. We might start, as often students do, when they release their tailbone down, their upper body goes back and they're stood like this. That's a deviation. What we want, and I'll do my best here, is an absolute plumb line. So top of the head, shoulders, hips, heels, one line absolutely straight. But if you practice, if you start and you're like this, then your teacher, if they're doing hands-on corrections, will come and correct you and bring you into your best alignment as they can. They can only correct to their level, but as best they can, they'll bring you to good alignment. And you'll think to yourself, gosh, when I'm corrected, I was here and I felt that I was really pulled forwards. And that is how it feels. When you're given a correction, especially at the beginning, they tend to be quite gross corrections, quite big corrections. And so as you stand, you won't think you're leaning back, you'll think you're straight. So when the teacher gives you a correction, it feels like this. And so you'll go away and you'll practice and you'll think, I must apply the correction as best I can. And you'll remember feeling that you're tipping forwards. So as you practice, you may well actually hit perfection momentarily, maybe for an hour or so. But as you continue to practice, remembering that your correction was to go forwards, you may end up, I'm exaggerating, but like this. And so next time you go to your teacher, they'll go, oh, okay. And they'll correct you again. And you'll feel, oh, I was really pulled back. And it's very frustrating because you keep thinking, but that was the opposite correction last time. But what's happening in effect is you are correcting, but you're missing the feeling of correction and you're going out the other end. And this will keep happening, that each time you're corrected, you'll go through perfection and out the other end. Like we were discussing this last week, weren't we? That, you know, you work hard and you think you've got it and you come back to train waiting for a pat on the back and being told, well done, you've got it now. And the teacher goes, okay, let's fix this. And you're like, what? I thought I fixed it. I've been working really hard. But what we're actually doing is we are correcting, we're swinging through perfection and we tend to go out the other end. But as long as we keep practicing, the deviation each time is reduced. And that's what this diagram shows, that over time, if we apply ourselves and with good and correct instruction, our deviations will reduce, our alignment with lack of deviation or perfection will get more and more. So at the end, we will have such little deviations that we're pretty much perfect. That's where the Grandmaster is at. He's pretty much perfect, but he's still trying to polish away any little roughnesses and anything that would, he's trying to let go of what doesn't serve and embrace what's even better. So even the Grandmaster is thirsty to improve. And that's what Tai Chi is all about, folks. It's about the carrot in front of the donkey. It's not about getting the carrot, because once you feel you have attained perfection, what happens? You stop. There's nowhere to go once you have attained perfection. So the supreme ultimate is a carrot. The yin yang is a carrot. It is not attainable, but as long as you continue to strive for perfection, you have endless possibilities to improve and integrate and come to terms with the deviations rather than hating them and getting frustrated. You're going, okay, well, that wasn't perfect, but it was better than it was last year. So there you go. That's a little bit of Tai Chi philosophy for you as from our Grandmaster Chen. So now let's do a bit of Chen style, shall we? Let's do our silk railing. So we have looked at single hand, we've looked at single hand stepping. We've looked last week at double hand and double hand stepping forwards. So now let's have a little look at stepping back. And before we step back with our feet, I'm going to have a wee look with you at the body and arm movements. And as always in Tai Chi, it is best to begin with Wuji. And someone asked me yesterday, did you come up with that, Wuji? Like, no, this is the origins of Tai Chi. So Wuji is depicted by the empty circle. Doesn't matter what color it is, it could be red, black, white, whatever you like. It's just one. It's oneness, so universal oneness or emptiness. And I'm going to have a go at a Chinese poem for you to show how ancient this understanding is. It's part of the verbal history of Tai Chi. So the Chinese for a long time, for the most part, were illiterate. Only emperors and scholars and high-born people learned to read and write. So anything of value was passed on through a verbal tradition and therefore tended to be done in poetry so as not to get the Chinese whispers effect, which is very much a thing. So the poem goes, 台句子无疾而生，东经之际，阴阳之母也. And actually it should be done even more sing-songy than that. So Tai Chi, or sorry, Chinese, Mandarin, is a tonal language. And so to get absolutely sure that people were getting the exact words and understood correctly, poetry was sung like this. It was a sing-song. So what I just said was, 台句子, Tai Chi is 无疾而生, born of Wuji. So the yin-yang is born out of nothingness or universal oneness. 台句子无疾而生, 东经之际, 自己. From east to west, it's the same. 阴阳之母也. 太极之无疾而生，东经之际，阴阳之母也. Yin yang is the mother, so it's saying that this yin yang picture is the mother of everything. It is a way to explain, to describe everything in nature, but it's all coming from Wuji. So it has to be that we start with emptiness and universal oneness, and then everything comes forth from that into our beautiful balancing practice when it's already balanced. So let's do Wuji. You can have your feet together. That's absolutely fine. In fact, that is the Chen way, if we're being strict about it. But this is special health focus, so I'm allowing you to start with your feet open. But if you do that, you want to think of your legs, even though they're open, as one unit. Like you're wearing a really long skirt, everything is one. Because actually when your feet are open, it's two, isn't it? So in order to bring about a feeling of oneness, think of a long skirt, that your two legs are one. So we lengthen up, please, through the top of the head, the chin slightly down and back. And as we breathe, we release and soften, let go. And listen. Calm down. And listen behind you. Now, I'd really love for you to practice Wuji. You can do it standing, but you can do it seated or even lying down. And it's really this mindfulness aspect of being absolutely present to this moment and listen. Listen with all of your senses. And as you do that, the boundaries of what's inside and what's outside fall away, and you get this sense of just conscious awareness. Beautiful. Now let's bring the awareness back to the room, but we want to keep that feeling that we've just worked on. Let it stay with you. Keep in the moment, keep present, keep that absolute presence of the here and now. As you bring your awareness back to the room and gently, slowly open your eyes. Very good. So of all the Tai Chi practice, I would argue Wuji is the most profound, and it will get you the furthest. It's preparation. So it's deep preparation And when you prepare well, everything goes well. So from now, we extend, if you want to extend your left hand, I'll mirror, so extend your left hand forwards, and then release through belly, hips, and knees. And as you release belly, hips, and knees, you release shoulder, elbow, hand. Or you could think hip, knee, foot, shoulder, elbow, hand. So everything is kind of going, ah. So at this stage, it kind of looks like you're reaching out to shake hands with someone. So you start extending forwards and melt down. Good. And then the other palm is going to sit about level with your dantian. So 4 finger widths beneath your belly button, about mid hips, or if you know your anatomy, it's around the greater trochanter point. And if you don't know your anatomy, don't worry. If you were to lift your leg sideways, you'll find that there is a sort of the place where the hip meets the leg moving. That's the greater trochanter, and that's the level of the hand. So it's about level with that. So now you have one palm facing up and the other palm facing down. Now we're going to turn the waist very gently, and as we do, we sweep the arms around. So one is coming forwards, the other is coming more to the side, and we draw in a little bit. So you're not going all the way into your body, but drawing in a little bit, and see how both hands go into a twist. So the front hand, the little finger edge is fully turned up, and the hand that is level with the greater trochanter, the thumb edge is fully rotated out. So you're not forcing your shoulder out of position, but rotating as far as you can, keeping your shoulder structure nice and level. And then we release and we repeat. So there's that release moment where both arms start to untwist, and then a very slight turn from the dantian, gently gliding across. Both hands are kind of in transit, and then the twist. So drawing in a little bit, palm facing up, palm facing out, and release. Very gently turn. You notice it's very slight. If you were just watching my body, you'd hardly see any turn, and yet I am turning in my center because that's what's moving the arms. And again, we turn very slightly, very, very, very slightly, and twist. Good. Release, turn, and twist. So we are expressing yin and yang. Now we've moved from Wuji into Tai Chi. Everything we do in some way depicts the yin and yang, two opposing forces coming into balance. And what that means is that if one thing moves, everything moves. And if one thing stops moving, everything stops moving. So notice one has a long way to go around the outside, the other a short way to go, but they start and finish together. And if you're thinking, gosh, this is a little difficult, yeah, it kind of is, but it actually gets a lot easier when we add the legs. I think, because we have the 3 harmonies coming into action. Good, so if we just relax the arms down, literally the body is turning this much. I would say maybe 20 degrees to each side. It is subtle. So remember, with an internal art, it's not about big movements on the outside. Smaller movements are more powerful than big movements, believe it or not. And practically no movement is more powerful than a small movement. And if you're thinking, how can that be? Let's come back to center. I don't know if you know much about leverage, but if you have something like a seesaw, that the pivot point is in the middle, then it will equally lift the weight easily. But if you want to lift something heavy, actually you want the pivot point closer to the heavy end. And then you've got a long lever, a long handle that as long as the bar is strong, when you push down on that end, you can travel it a long way, and the end closer to the leverage only travels a short way, but can lift a lot of weight. So you don't have to be very strong if you have a long lever, you can just move a long way. Whereas if you tried to lift a heavy weight on the long end by moving the short end, you would really struggle even if you were strong. And Tai Chi is like that we are moving a lot of stuff from a pivot point. So a little movement actually has more power. Whereas if we do a big movement, we are wasting energy. We're throwing it away in the movement and we're losing the power behind the movement. So another way to describe that is if you have a wheel, the closer you get to the hub of the wheel, the more powerful the wheel is, the more energy it has. As the wheel turns, by the time it gets to the outside rim, the energy is being used up with movement. So when we move from center, the smaller the movement, the more powerful it is. Whereas if we move big, yes, the center is still strong, but it creates a lot of movement on the outside, and we tend to not move that much, so we break the connection. We move a lot on the inside. We don't have the connection, what we call twining or linkage. And so if you're breaking the link from the lever, then you've no power, because everything comes from center in Tai Chi. So we need to keep our structure, not be brittle, not be tight, but keep the feeling of connection and alignment. And that means that every time we move from center, we have effortless and bounteous power behind it. But if we turn the body and don't move the arm and then move the arm, we're not doing Tai Chi anymore, because we're not using that leverage from our center. I hope that's making sense. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of technique understanding today. Hopefully it'll stand you in good stead. But let's do some actual work. So now we're going to add the arms and the legs. So we need to keep our feeling of structure. And I see it again and again with beginners that they understand they have to turn, and they understand they need to move their arms, but they'll turn and move their arms. That's double the effort and it's no longer Tai Chi. So if you're turning, that is moving your arm. Whatever way you're turning, keep the connection that moves your arm. And that way you don't get sore arms, because it's not your arms doing it, it's your center. So this is using Qi, energy through buoyancy, moving from center, rather than Li, which is just muscle power. We don't use our muscle power in Tai Chi. We use our muscles, but only as part of the linkage. So we're going to step back now. Watch me do it. I'll do it front view, and then we'll do it together back view. So we lengthen up and relax down. Notice my feet are together. We extend an arm forwards, and normally we extend the left arm forwards first. So I will mirror, but it doesn't matter because we do it on both sides. And then I sit down. We sit down on the right foot. One palm facing up, one palm facing down, level with the greater trochanter with the dantian. So we touch, we relax the foot down, we feed the weight back, and that naturally turns the body, so we don't even have to think about it, and then draw in. Notice I'm not untwisting. I've gone through quite a lot of evolution with this as I've studied with my masters. So we're just twisting as we draw in, and then simply release and step back, and that's the center turning. Feed the weight back and twist, draw in. Release let the center move. If the foot has managed to turn out, fix it, but we're aiming for parallel, and draw in, release, step, relax the foot down, feed the weight back, and draw in. Okay. Now, before we actually do it, are there any questions? No? Happy enough? Great. Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to start at the front of my space. I encourage you to come right the way forwards and we'll do it together. So we start with our feet together, please, and we lengthen up, chin down and back, and relax down. Calming down. Listening behind. We extend the left arm forwards. Release through belly, hips, knees, and place the right palm facing down on your little platform. Release the left heel. Very soft, listening and feeling behind you. We touch. Relax the foot down. Feed the weight back. Let your body roll to the side a little bit and draw in, twist. Release and touch. Relax down. Push your heel out a little bit, trying to keep parallel. If the front foot is turned out, fix it, turn it in, and twist. Release, touch. Push the heel out. Weight back. And in. Last time. Touch. Push the heel out as it comes down. And in. Good, and rest. Let's do it again, please. Come forwards. This time we're going to do the right hand. Ready? We lengthen up. Relax down. Fingers gently lengthen. Extend your right arm. Release through belly, hips, knees, down to the feet. Release the arm. Left palm facing down. And we touch. Relax down, pushing the heel out. Feed the weight back. Draw in. Just let there be a natural roll to the other side. And rest. Well done. Take a breath. Good. Now, you haven't asked any questions, but I'm going to mention something that is often mentioned in training, and that's this kind of whooshing noise that you'll hear as the foot comes in. Notice I don't just bring the foot back, I bring it in before it goes out. So there's your curve. Remember, we don't move in straight lines in Tai Chi, we move in curves. But you may well hear a little whispering noise as my foot comes back, because I'm on a carpet and I'm allowing my foot to gently trail on the ground. And this has been a conversation, not quite of contention, but there has been certainly discussion about whether we should allow our foot to whisper against the ground or whether it should be lifted and skim the ground without touching. And certainly Jill, my teacher, has mentioned that it's okay to whisper, but say if you're on carpet, you should not be leaving tracks. So you should not have your weight on the foot. It should be empty, but it's fine to connect with the ground. So you can whisper across the ground, but you should not be ploughing the earth with your foot. It should be empty, but it's kind of like, I would say, these are my words, it's kind of like a traveling route, if you see what I mean. So you're connected with the earth. At any stage you could decide if you wanted to plant the root down, but it's a traveling route, so you're just keeping a connection. You're not, see what I mean? You're not weighting it, you're not pushing into it. So I'll assume that that's a question that might have trickled through your mind. It is something that has been talked about a lot in training. I wouldn't worry too much about it, just make sure you're not weighting the foot, but it's fine. I actually like that little whisper. I feel it's a sensory connection with the earth. Just don't let it get too heavy. Let's try it again, please. Are we ready? Lengthening up, chin down and back, relaxing down. Listening behind, this is even more important in stepping back, because you're using your senses to guide you. Let's go again with left hand, and release, left facing up, right facing down, release the left heel, and rest. Well done, you can take a breath. Good. So remember everyone, Chen style is by our school standards, it is the origin of what we now understand of Tai Chi. And so Chen style is maybe a little bit more disciplined in that it's asking a little bit more of the body than, say, the likes of Yang style. So we know when we step back in Yang style, we touch with the toe and we allow our heel to come in and then feed the weight back and turn the toes in, because that's actually really comfortable for the human body. To keep the back foot turned out is very natural and very nice, and it just all feels very yummy, and we don't have to, we have to think about the choreography, but it is designed to make us feel really comfortable. Chen style doesn't worry about comfort so much. It is designed to be incredibly efficient and they feel that parallel lines is efficient. That's what we're going for, which does require a little bit more physical discipline, that we have to learn how to do parallel rather than just go with what's comfortable. So when we're stepping back with Chen style, in order to do that, we consciously, I think of pushing the heel out a little bit as it goes down. Now, of course, it's not going out like that. It just means as I put my foot down, if I think of pushing out, then it's avoiding the natural response of rolling the heel in. So that means that when I bring the front foot back, look at that, I'm parallel. And then again, step open and I think of pushing the heel out a little bit, feed the weight back and come in. So that is the standard. Remember the yin yang at the top, and we've got the triangle and the straight line. So we're aiming for the straight line. We're aiming for that direct lack of deviation, but you may physically not be able to do that at this point in time. And if that is the case, we have to accommodate that. So Tai Chi, though we're aiming for perfection, we have to allow for the body to be less than perfect. So if you need to, you can put the heel in a little bit. That's no problem. Okay, it happens. But then you'll find that you're a little bit turned out. And so make sure you correct the front foot. You turn it in, just like the Yang choreography turns the front foot in. So if you can't go parallel, then aim for as little turnout as you comfortably can, and please do then adjust your front toes, or if you had to, you could push the heel out at the front. Either way is fine, but we are aiming for at least the front foot to point in the direction that we're coming from. Okay, so if you can, parallel. If you can't go parallel, do your best job, but we want to be comfortable. So Chen style it is the long haul. You know, it's something that we aim for. It's the yin yang at the top. We're aiming for perfection, but we're allowing for our bodies to be comfortable on the way and just gently guiding them towards the standard if we can. So let's do one more time, stepping back, and then we'll have a wee warm down, please. Okay, ready? We lengthen up and relax down. This time the right arm extends forwards and release the right heel. Listen and feel your way. And rest. Good, take a breath. Good stuff. Now I've talked a lot in this session, but actually Tai Chi is at its best when you do it in silence. And of all the movements, you know, it's like whatever you're working on at the time becomes your favorite, but of all the movements, certainly in silk reeling, this is my favorite because it is very deeply relaxing. It is, I would say, a kidney bladder exercise. It takes away fear. It just gives you this beautiful sense of and that sensory experience of that little whisper of bringing your feet back, I think really adds to that. But you're only going to experience that if you practice and just give yourself plenty of time to listen and feel and get into a rhythm. It has this integration aspect, and it has a very special, I think, all silk reeling does this, but it has this kind of sacred space feel about it. It makes your body feel like that. There's that beautiful hush that you get when you walk into a library or a cathedral or an ancient place. You just get this So please play with your stepping back, because that's how you connect with it and how you improve. And see if you can find that. Not by going, where is it, but just get into the flow, listen and feel, and see if you can just lose yourself in that movement. Maybe next week we'll do just some where I don't talk and we'll just repeat, and hopefully you'll get it with me in real time. But please do use this video again, put me on mute, and when I'm talking away, you practice. And then when I'm practicing, practice with me. And I believe you will learn to absolutely love this movement just like I do. Okay, folks, we'll finish off with some 100 Ailments Go Away by Bing Xiao. We flop the wrists and we do our little bounce. And let's let all the wobbly bits go completely wobbly. And breathe and feel into this moment. Good, and relax down. Let your arms just do their thing until they have come still, and listen to your body. Let's take a deep breath, float up. Showering with energy, another really beautiful, simple movement, breathing out on the way down. Think of resistance in both directions. The breath carries the arms, and the out breath, as if you're relaxing through layers of clouds. One more time, float up. Suspend your breath at the top and stretch your fingers into the sky. Stretch your toes gently down into the earth and seal in your good energy. Release, breathing out, and guide your energy into center. Hug your elbows gently in and feel the touch, feel the warmth flowing into your belly. Feel your energy is stronger. Beautiful. Well done, everyone. Relax your arms down. Let's come together to salute. 学生好. You can say 老师好. And I hope very much that you enjoyed today. I know it was rich in theory, but hopefully you enjoyed the practice as well. Okay, thank you and see you next time.